Hello, 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 and welcome back to A Little Birdie Told You. I'm your host, Kristen Knight.
And I'm your host, Kelly Knight.
And today we are going to be talking about the opposite of red flags, and that is green flags. And I want to make this clear because everyone's going to have different green flags. This is our green flags. And I'm going to say my general perception of a healthy relationship and green flags. We're not going to be talking about those little green flags that you see. Oh, I like his hair this color. I like her hair this color. I like his eyes this color. Because let me tell you, what someone looks like physically is not going to determine how healthy the relationship's going to be. Yeah. Okay? Anyone can look a certain way, and that relationship is not going to be healthy all the time. Okay? It's going to be about their character and how they are as a person and the things they do. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, right? So let's talk about some things that we think are green flags.
I would say one, just like in general, like, I mean, I know this is probably like basic, but like in general, being loyal to one person. Because, I mean, like I've said this before, like I'm honestly kind of like contemplating on like thinking that I was wrong the last time I said this, saying that you like should talk to like multiple people in the talking stage. And I feel like it's in the middle. Like I'm like, all right, well, like then like yes, you have other options if that person does something wrong, and that's the same thing for them, but also at the same time, like when they're not answering you, are they answering someone else? You know?
I think people need to understand the concept of a relationship and not say that they like the idea of having a relationship, but actually
like the person.
Yeah,
like
desire having a relationship. Because liking the idea of having a relationship and actually pursuing a relationship is two different things. You can say, oh, I like having a relationship. I want to have a relationship. And I think a lot of people have a misconception about it and think it's all, oh, I want, you see these social media posts and people are like, oh, cuddles and hugs and touch and affection, and they think that's all a relationship is cupcakes and rainbows. But relationships do take work.
Yeah.
And the right one, I've always said, doesn't feel like it's a lot of work. You don't dread putting the work in, but you do love the work, but it is work. The person's worth the work, I should say. So when you're in a relationship, if someone's willing to put in the work, that's a green flag.
Yeah, because they actually like you.
They put in the effort. Yeah, because they actually care and they think you're worth the work. That's why we always say people treat you, a reflection of how someone treats you is a reflection of how they feel about you, correct? And that's because people, when they think you're worth the work, they're going to put the effort in. They're going to put the work into you because they value you enough to say, hey, I'm going to put the work in here because they look like they're worth the work, or they feel like they're worth the work. So you have to understand that when you're in a relationship with somebody, if they're not putting effort in, it's because they don't feel that they value enough to put work in for you. So don't like the idea of having it. If someone seems that they just like the idea of having you, that's not actually having you. They should put the work in to acquire you. You put the work in to get something, right? If you want something expensive, you have to work for that. You have to put the money in. It's a lot more money. You don't
just like get it handed to you like that.
You're not just say, oh yeah, this is free, everyone take it. That's why you have to set your value and standards up that high.
I think another thing is if somebody is like always like, I mean, this is like a green flag is when somebody doesn't sit there and like post like, oh, I'm single, or oh, I want a relationship. Because I generally think, I don't know how many people have actually said this, but I think it's really true when people say that when you're not looking for like love or a relationship, it comes towards you. It's like, okay, the red car theory? I like just told this to someone and I was like, oh, well, when you're like looking for a red car, you never see them when you're driving, right? But when you're not looking for one, you literally see them everywhere. So like when you're looking for a relationship, you don't see nothing. You don't see anybody. Nobody's catching your eye. When you're not looking for a relationship though, and you're just trying to focus on yourself, that's when there's like multiple people trying to get with you or taking you out.
That could honestly be a comparative to green flags too, because sometimes you don't always see the green flags or the red flags, I should say. We're going to talk about green flags, but sometimes you don't notice those green flags right away. I do believe sometimes you don't realize that's a green flag until you actually understand and you take it for granted and realize, oh, that's actually a green flag that they do this and they push me in this way or that way. And you don't understand it till you actually analyze the situation a little bit more better.
I would say another thing. I mean, this goes either way, probably for red flags and green flags. But I would say if somebody's never been in a relationship, and I'm not saying this is a red flag, that could be a green flag. But I would say it's also sometimes like a green flag if somebody's been in like more than 3 relationships or something, just because then they actually know how to treat someone, like they actually learn from it. And I know Kristen's about to say something really bad from that.
I completely disagree with that because I think if you've been in more than 3 relationships, somebody's doing something wrong because you shouldn't have to be in that many relationships to now finally say, oh, I'm a walking green flag. You must not be because why are you in that many relationships then?
Well, like, I think in general, this is bad.
I mean, I'm
like,
for real though with that.
I really think though, if you've been in a couple relationships, you know how to treat someone at that point. That's all I'm trying to get off here. Like, then like you actually learn and you're like, and sometimes you realize really what you want in a person in a relationship because you can't learn or like know what you want until you've like experienced it or had it. Because even sometimes being in a relationship, like, and you get out of it and you're like, okay, well, I realized things that I did wrong in a relationship and realize things that they did wrong. So then you really know what you want. That's what I'm trying to say.
That is valid. I understand that. But if you're going to get in that relationship next and tell me that you've been in 5 relationships and then tell me you finally know what green flags are, then I kind of want to argue with that. I feel like
in general, okay, this is like a saying. One, when somebody like you break up with someone or someone breaks up with you, it's always either like a benefit or a lesson. You always benefit from either a lesson or you just benefit from something else. So,
well, it's a lesson entirely.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you do realize what you want out of a relationship. You do finally realize that.
Like I've said, Kristen's obviously probably going to disagree and other people probably are too, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing if somebody's already been in a relationship. Maybe not 3 or more, but like that was just kind of like an example.
I would say it's a green flag if that person took what they learned from those relationships and utilize it to their advantage. And take opportunity from it instead of looking back with regret or looking back in denial. Like, why did I do this? Or why did this person leave me? So a green flag is somebody that I think is working to improve themselves. And if they look back at their past relationships in an optimistic form and happen to say, oh, yes, this happened, but I learned this, this, and this. And they're working on themselves.
Like they see the good in the bad.
That's a green flag. But aside from their past relationships, I think someone who seeks to improve themselves is a green flag. If you have somebody that you're getting in a relationship with or you happen to be in a relationship with and they constantly are evolving and trying to improve themselves, even if it's just minimal things like every day setting goals for themselves or trying to improve in little ways, maybe physically or mentally, those are green flags. You want to be with somebody that's going to improve themselves. Why? Because then they're going to influence you to improve yourself. You don't want to be with somebody who's going to sit around playing video games all day if you're trying to get somewhere. You know why? Because then you're going to end up sitting around all day playing video games with them. Or one day you're going to look back and say, why was I with this? Because this is going to get me absolutely nowhere. And if you're someone who sits around and plays video games all day, then you might want to say, if you're going to try to get somewhere, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a partner that wants to get somewhere, then you might need to fix that. You might need to tweak that a little bit. And I'm not saying to change yourself, but don't sit around all day. Maybe incorporate it a little bit, or not even video games, but just sitting around all day scrolling through social media or things that aren't benefiting you. Those aren't good things to do. You know what I mean? And if someone you're in a relationship is doing that, that's not really a green flag. Now, everyone's going to have a different opinion on this. Personally, that's mine. Another thing is someone who doesn't push you. That's going to be more of a red flag. So somebody who pushes you is going to be a green flag. You want someone to push you towards your goals, even if it might seem, you know, how should I say this? Not bossy, but maybe you're like,
or like more of like
assertive.
Yeah, or like parent vibes.
That's a good thing though.
Yeah.
That's a good quality to have in someone, because if you're going to have a long-lasting relationship, if that's what you desire and you want a healthy relationship, you want somebody who's going to push you, not hold you back. Because they might push you into opportunities that are going to help you excel in your personal life. Always remember that a relationship is something that comes together. It's something that's collaborative. But aside from your relationship with that person, you have a relationship with yourself at the end of the day. You do have a relationship with yourself. That person, yes, can encourage you, can support you, can push you towards your goals and be there as an individual to help you through things. But you also have to do a lot of mental work and a lot of things on your own to figure that out. But if they help push you towards those things, that's a great thing. So you have to make sure that they do that as well. So it's a green flag when they focus on themselves as well. You want them to focus on themselves. That's a green flag, you know?
Okay. And then I would say, honestly, like, okay, I don't really know. There's like multiple things to this though. If somebody's like jealous or like brings up things they don't like that you do in a relationship, or just, I don't even know. I mean, maybe not that, but like just in general, like they show that like things like bother them. And I know a lot of people might be like, because I'm an overthinker, so like I kind of say that stuff a lot. But like in general, if somebody brings up those things, some people are like, oh my God, this is like nerve-wracking. Don't take that for granted, because some people will literally not care if, you know, you're flirting with someone else or something. Because if somebody is showing that they are jealous of little things, maybe if they're really like getting on your nerves because they say it multiple times, if somebody just brings it up once and you think that's annoying, then you shouldn't even be talking to them, because obviously you don't care enough in a relationship to bring that stuff up.
But that's like what I was saying, is sometimes you don't think things are green flags until you realize they're green flags. And maybe if you get multiple relationships, you're expecting something, but somebody acts a different way and you say, wow, that's actually a green flag that this person didn't have. If that makes sense with that.
Yeah, because like in general, if somebody brings up little things that bother them, they obviously care. They obviously like care the things that you do, and that's a good thing.
They have open communication.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing in a relationship.
Communication is like a really big green flag.
Communication's key. I will always say it.
Because if you sit there and you hide little things that you want to tell that person, or maybe you like, you know, you feel like they don't like take you on dates enough, just little things that might bother you. If you don't open up about those things, you're not going to fix the problem. Because if you keep hiding and like deep down you're like, oh, well, I'm too scared to say it, but then they're too scared to say it, nobody's opening up, then you're not going to fix the problem. You're not going to fix the issue. Like,
well, if you don't express your emotions to somebody, express the way you feel, it's just going to keep getting bottled up inside. They do something wrong, bottle it up inside. They do another thing wrong, bottle it up inside. And what's going to happen is one day that bottle's going to overflow and you're just going to explode on them. And they're going to look at you like, why did you keep all this inside? Why did you not tell me? Why did you withhold this information from me? And it's not good for your sanity either, because you're going to sit there every day contemplating on this, and this, because all the things that you've bottled up inside. That's another thing that leads me to a green flag, is how do you feel when you're around them?
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable enough to express yourself? Because if you don't, that's not a green flag. A lot of people don't realize our intuition and our personal self and our self-awareness leads us to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel a certain way, like I know a lot of people could say this, oh, in my past relationship, people might say, oh, I felt this way. I felt I couldn't express myself. I felt I couldn't be who I really was. Well, that was because that person wasn't being real with you. And that's because that wasn't the right person for you. And then they realize that because they meet somebody who they can be their authentic self with and they fully can communicate with without hesitation. Some of us have to learn communication skills. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you should feel comfortable enough. And I think if you don't, sometimes it's because it's not the right person. If you don't feel like you can, you know, simply communicate a little trigger to that person, say, hey, this bothered me a little bit, and you don't feel comfortable enough, then maybe it's not the right person.
Or like in general, if you like don't feel comfortable, like if you don't feel comfortable enough like opening up to them like about things, then
it's not a good thing.
No.
Another thing is, how do they react when you open up about things? Because yes, you're not always going to agree with the person. That's why I said it takes work. Sometimes you're not going to agree with what they have to say, but you're going to collaborate with them and you're going to come to a conclusion with them.
This is one thing that I've seen before, is it's not you and them. Like, it's not you and the problem against them and the problem. It's you and that person against the problem. You're supposed to be solving the problem together, not fighting with each other about the problem, if that makes sense. Because you guys are like dating. Like, there should be no, like, if you're sitting there and you're like arguing, or maybe the boy, or maybe whatever, the girl, one of you guys is sitting there arguing about it and they can't like put down their ego enough to like actually be like, okay, like, let me understand where this is coming from, you know, and like put themselves in your shoes.
It's a green flag when they can understand your point of view and you can understand their point of view, and you guys can use your point of views together, collaborate, and come to a decision without arguing about it. Sure, you might not see what they're saying, you might not understand it, but you can say, okay, well, we can work through this together. If somebody yells at you and says you're wrong, that's kind of not a green flag, let me tell you, because they're not caring about your opinion enough to come to a decision. They should care about your opinion. You should say, okay, well, let me understand this. Talk to me about it. Communicate with me about it. And some people just like the idea of having all of this, but they don't know how to actually commit to it. They don't know how to
put like enough, like they don't know how to put the effort in.
Another thing is aside, like we were talking about with effort, is them maybe remembering things about you and remembering little things that you like, or maybe, how should I say this, things that you like to do, or just little things about your past or yourself. Those are also good things. You know, you should want somebody who's self-aware in themselves as well. Somebody who kind of knows how they feel about things in their opinion. That's a good thing as well, because when people try to put their opinion on your relationship, you want somebody who knows themselves enough and knows you well enough, as I said,
To know that you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't do that. They're going to have trust in you and know you. So that's why it's good that they remember little things about you, because at the end of the day, that's going to add up into the person you are. And they're going to understand that. They're going to be self-aware enough to know, okay, I know who they are and you know who I am, and I'm self-aware and I'm self-confident enough to know that everything these people are saying is not going to bother us. Because a lot of relationships come to a conclusion and an ending because of the fact of other people. Other people bring other people into the relationship, and they allow their opinions to dictate the relationship. As you were saying, it's you and them. It's not you and you versus the problem and them versus their problem and you guys arguing back and forth about other people. Because you notice people allow other people to get in the relationships.
Yeah, bringing this up, I would say it's a very big green flag if they don't tell their friends everything about your guys' relationship. Because I find that a red flag if you're going to sit there. Like, it is okay to a point to, like, talk about, like, your significant other to your friends, but you should never bring up your problems, what you guys are having in your relationship, nothing like that to your friends, because your friends, it's not their relationship. It's you and that person's relationship. They have nothing to do with it.
And other people...
So, like, keeping things, like, I wouldn't say, like, a secret relationship, but, like, keeping some things private is not bad.
Other people, as I was just saying, tend to get involved in other people's relationships. And a lot of people let them into their relationships.
Yeah, because I think it's okay.
It's okay to tell your friends some things. If you want to share things with your friends, everyone's an independent person.
I would say, like, say little things, but I wouldn't sit there and, like, just let everything out. Obviously, keep most of it to yourself. Like, I wouldn't, like, sit there and say everything.
I agree. And another thing is, though, is don't compare your other relationships to everyone else.
Yeah.
Everyone's relationship's going to be different at the end of the day. What you might see as healthy is what someone else might see as unhealthy. And that's what's important here with the green flags is it is important to know what's good for your well-being. What is allowing you to grow? What is allowing you to become a better version of yourself? Because that's going to be a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships don't stay stagnant. They don't push you back farther. They're ones that grow. That's why I always compare relationships.
They're supposed to grow together in a relationship, and they're supposed to push you.
That's why I always compare relationship to a tree. A tree grows. It goes through its different seasons. It goes through different transformations, but at the end of the day, it's still growing, unless someone knocks it down or does something to the tree. But overall, if you think of plants or like living beings, we're growing, right? So you want someone who's going to push you to grow. You want someone who's going to constantly allow you to evolve positively. If you feel drained when you're around somebody, that's not a green flag. You want somebody that makes you feel refreshed and like they're a green flag. But some people try to paint red flags green, as we always say, but you truly do know if something's a green flag. I think a lot of us kind of have that. If you tend to get in that overthinking mindset and you become an overthinker in a relationship, you're overthinking about something. I tend to tell people this because if you're overthinking, there's a reason to overthink. You have a reason behind
for
everything.
me, I'm an overthinker, so I can completely like talk about anything like about this. But like in general, I would say anytime I ever overthinked about something, it's pretty bad because I was always right. There was always something that I was right about if I was ever overthinking about anything. So if you are overthinking about it, don't sit there and be like, oh, it's nothing, and put it like behind you and be like, it's fine, it's nothing, there's nothing there. And then a month later, you're like, oh my God, I was right. So like in general, if you're overthinking about it and you're overthinking about that person, let them walk out the door.
I will say the way they treat their friends and family tends to be a green flag. If they treat them positively and you notice that they...
And like their siblings.
That's a green flag. Like you notice they put effort and care into their people that they say they care about. That's a green flag. You know, do look at the people that they say they care about, claim they care about. If they treat them with respect, that's a green flag. Another thing is boundaries. I want to say respect and boundaries. Do they know your boundaries? If someone has a healthy level of boundaries with you, that's a green flag. If they know when no means no, that's a green flag. However, if they try to push those boundaries, that's not really a green flag in my perception because they don't care about you enough to say, I value your boundaries. I value your self-respect that you have for yourself. I'm going to avoid pushing over those boundaries. If someone tends to constantly manipulate you into believing certain things or pushing you against your boundaries because they want you to do what they wanted you to do, then that's not a green flag. You want somebody who's going to allow you to be yourself at the end of the day as well. and allow you to have your boundaries and be who you are, not try to manipulate you into someone you're not. I would say another thing is sometimes this is a red flag, I think, in other people's eyes, but I could say this is a green flag, is if someone, so it's actually a red flag though if someone's trying to change you, but I think if someone's trying to provide you opportunity,
change you in the better.
Change you in the better.
Yeah, I mean, it goes different ways. I think you should be able to I think that person, what am I saying? Person would push you to do better for yourself, but not in a way that it would make you uncomfortable. Things that you want to do in general.
But I do think a relationship can get you out of your comfort zone.
I would say in general though, if you're in a relationship, after 6 months, you're going to see a change. You always change no matter what. Even in a friendship, there's always a way of change. But in general, it's a lesson, right? You're going to change. There's going to be different things that happen.
It's how the person is going to act as you change though too.
Yeah.
If they respect that we are going to change as humans, that's something that everyone has to understand. You're not going to be the same person you were 6 months ago or a year ago. And if that person decides to be with you, they have to kind of accept your change. How does that person act when you change? If you say, I'm going to try a new style because this makes me feel confident in who I am.
They should like you for you. And if they don't, they're not the right person because you should like them for them too.
They're going to encourage it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then that's not really a green flag. They should allow you to just kind of naturally be who you are because you should allow them to be who they are. You shouldn't get jealous and, intimidated or upset by the fact that they're trying to change. You should just allow them to be who they are as well. And at the end of the day, you should note these green flags. I feel like it's like I said, how do you feel at the end of the day? I really do think it comes down to ourselves. If you're self-aware, you're going to understand, okay, how do I feel about this? Are they doing the things that I appreciate? Are they doing things that I feel valued? Because if they're not, you're going to have those overthinking or that uneasiness in your body. Your body kind of tells you how you feel about someone. And I think at the end of the day, you kind of know if they're green flags. And I don't mean the little green flags. But there is certain things that are green flags. Like if they do little things for you. Or
little gestures.
Yeah, little gestures. If they treat you well. Maybe they appreciate your love language. All of us have love languages. Some of us like gift giving or words of affirmation and just different things like that in the variety. They will remember those little things, and those are appreciative. If someone remembers those little things, I would consider them green flags. But I would say the little things with looks and stuff, that's more of your personal preference. It doesn't dictate a lot of people are oh, it's a green flag if he has brown hair, or it's a green flag if he has amazing style. But at the end of the day, is that going to be what dictates a healthy relationship? Does he communicate or does she communicate? Does he appreciate your boundaries? Do they value you? Do they put effort in? Do they know how you feel and respect how you feel? Are those things that they consider? Do they consider how you feel about certain situations and consider your preference and your feelings? Because if they don't, then I wouldn't really say those are green flags.